Okay, y'all, I don't got a lot. I thought I was recording. All right, so I'm going to go through this dream quickly. Associate of mine asked me about the dream, and she thinks she may have a different meaning for part of it. So I'm just going to go through the whole dream as quickly as I can. Okay, here goes. So the dream is going to flow and jump. That's what I'm going to tell you. There's parts that flow together. There's parts that jump. So the dream begins where I am at and this is the order, if I remember correctly, it went. I'm outside, it's dark, so I'm gonna think it's night, but it was really a weird dark. Like, I don't even remember stars in the sky. I'm looking at this man who is holding up a baby, and in the dream, I know that he pulled his baby out the trash can. How I know that, I don't know, but I knew in the dream he did. He was grungy, the baby was grungy, and the baby was still alive. He looked at the baby like it was like, what's this? And then he took the baby and just threw it back in the trash can. At this point, I go and look for a cop because I'm thinking it's totally bizarre. I go to look for this cop, and when I get to this police officer, him and a person who's not a cop are fighting. So like a regular civilian, he's fighting with this cop or supposed cop. Once they get through fighting and the civilian kind of won the fight, I look at the cop and I start, I'm getting ready to approach him to get help. But then I realize something about the cop is not right. The uniform is odd. So at this point, the cop is kind of shisty. It was what I can tell you. He was kind of a con man, and he started trying to follow me. Well, I somehow was trying to get away from him, but in the process, I got to a building that I thought was my business. And I had people that either worked for me or partnered with me. I can't really explain it because it was weird. At this point, I tell them, this dude is shiesty, something's not right. They tell me, we're going to watch and we'll take care of it. And they began to put up cameras in order to watch everything going on. At this point, the dream jumps. And I go and I'm knocking on a door. The door, and this is part I can't remember if it came here. I think this came later. I can't remember if it came first or later, but I think it came later. I'm knocking on the door, and I end up knocking on the door of a friend of mine, Dean. When I knock on the door, I didn't know it was him. I didn't know it was his place, but he shows up at the door. And again, dark, very dark on the inside, dark on the outside. I see him and I'm like, oh my God, Dean, I thought you were dead. And I gave him a hug. The reason I thought it was weird to see him in the dream is because Dean, last time I knew, was HIV positive, and it looked like his AIDS had activated. I saw Dean the last time I was between 30 and 40 years old, and I'm 52. So he did not look good then. I didn't think he was still alive. I lost contact. I'll give you his true background. Dean was gay. He was very promiscuous. He was very loose. And so I knew that automatically dealt with the gay lifestyle and the perversion of who he was. The dream jumps from there, and he never says anything in the dream. It was just that hug to know who he was. So I figured this based on what he represented. The dream jumps again, and I'm now sitting in what looks to be like the back of a limo. There's a couple in the group, in the limo with me, in a group. And it was like I represented the group in the dream. And the couple was a successful pop group, rap group. And the name, the people, I knew her. The husband, I think, is a couple, because it's her and her husband that make music together. On YouTube, she goes by Queen Herbie. And they actually have a popularity. So I tell the group who they are. And I'm like, yeah, she's trying to sign them. And then somehow in the dream, it's relayed that they're going to try to mimic them after their pattern. The thing about Queen Herbie, when I first saw her, and this is the real part, when I first saw her, I realized she's a very gifted rapper, female for white chick. But what I'm seeing lately from her is kind of more perverted, some of it a little bit on the witchcraft, some of it on the witchcraft side, and very sexual. So again, I'm just like, So then the dream jumps from, and the group is like, we'll know who the heck she is. The dream jumps again, and now I'm hearing the running water. I don't see running water, I just hear it. And this is where there's a transition in the dream that's kind of weird. After I hear the running water, I'm now in an office. And I went to go, I'm going to the bathroom, something's up with the plumbing. And the next thing I know, I'm sitting at a desk, there's a bucket, like a trash can with pee in it. And then there's a mop. And the only thing I could do is, in the dream, I felt like I knew that I had mopped pee up with this. I had mopped up pee with this mop. But I was working at a desk with a computer. And I didn't want to say anything I didn't want my coworkers to smell the urine in the mop. That's all that came in my head. So when I got a break, I took the mop out to the back of the building to dry out. While back there's a guy, and he's taking the handles of other mops and he's trying to dig up pavement, like the black rocks in the pavement. I have no idea why. And at this point, he comes to get my mop, and I'm like, no, dude, I don't want you to break my handle on my mop. So that was already weird, that this is a mop that belonged to me in my office. And so I don't want you to break the handle on my mop. And then that's when I looked and I saw all these other mops down the side of the building. At this point, that was all I remember about that part, and the dream jumps. And the next thing I know, I'm sitting in what looks to be the only thing I can say is a lift ride. I do not know who the man was who was driving the lift. I have no idea who he was, or man or woman, I don't know. I know that we were sitting outside of a building, and it looked like you could drive through the building. And the man or person in the dream said to me something about the Trader Joe's. And the Trader Joe's was not a typical Trader Joe's. It was different. And he's like, yeah, I don't know how the new Trader Joe's is going to be doing, kind of basically based on how they're now doing, how this particular, like it was a new type of way Trader Joe's did business. And you would drive through. And then I was like, okay, because it was open. It was like an open building. It wasn't an enclosed building. And it reminded me of these drive-thrus that they have in Texas, where you can drive through like what they call smoke shops or liquor stores, and you can order what you want. You can order ices, you can get ice, I don't smoke, but you can, if you smoke cigarettes, you just drive through and get them. They have food too and snacks and stuff like that. Well, that's what it reminded me of. And in the dream, what I said was, I wonder if you can still get the spices, because I like Trader Joe's spices. But that was an odd thing too, because it was just an odd conversation. So everything from the running water forward, I do have question marks on. Everything prior, what I'm getting is that was dealing with some of the sin in which God is saying he's looking at us to judge, because everything was in darkness. Also, the thing about Trader Joe's, it was as if light was coming up, as if a day was coming up, like it was coming into morning. So it was actually not as dark as all of the rest of the dream. So that's what I have for the person who asked me, and for anybody else who's curious about it. I'm not gonna get into interpretation on what I see, with the exception that I know the first part of the dream for me had to do with a lot of sin. And it had to do with why I believe we're going to go under some of the judgments. The baby in the trash reminds me definitely of the only thing that came right off was abortion. The cop, or the supposed cop with the weird uniform, that reminds me of a lot of the corruption and messed up stuff going on with authority and police. The civilian fighting the cop reminds me of a lack of respect for authority, and the corrupt and all of that, the fight against it. And then the thing with Dean being gay, that's dealing with the homosexual lifestyle and how promiscuous and perverted things were. The Queen Herbie part tells me this is also impacting the entertainment industry, as well as how perverted and into witchcraft it is in, and how it's trying to impact people who who may not even be aware that that's what it's doing. So like this group didn't even know. They were like, oh, I don't know who she is. So they didn't realize that this is kind of what this industry is doing. And then we get to the running water, which is a shift, but I've already had a feeling that there's going to be issues with water. And then we get to the bathroom where there's plumbing issues. So that's why I said have other alternatives, because the first thing that came to me, when I was on a truck, I always kept a porta potty next to the bed. Okay, in the truck is a work area. So that was the thing that came up to me, is like, you need to have a porta john in this house as an emergency. But somebody's telling me they think something else about the mops. I didn't understand the mop part. So if you got something on the mop, feel free to let me know what the Lord may be showing you. Any of you, you're welcome to share that with me if the Lord is showing you something different. As far as the Trader Joe part, I'm still waiting on the Lord to show me that. But anyway, that's pretty much the dream. I'll go ahead and upload this and get it over to you guys. Peace, 2 and 2.